Are you an entrepreneur or ready to become a boss? Welcome to Hawaii Boss, the business podcast made in Hawaii, where you will hear from island movers and shakers on who they are and their impact on our state. And now, step into the office of your host for Hawaii Boss, David Pettijohn.
Aloha, Hawaii Boss podcast crew listening in out there, or you watching out there. You can go to Spotify, you can go to Apple, wherever you do that stuff. You can see us on YouTube. Come check it out, Hawaii Boss podcast. And, each week we get together with someone who's special related to Hawaii and doing business, working, enjoying Hawaii. But we want to go to their office. So we're fortunate today we get to go to the boss's office of the Hawaii Soccer Academy, founder, director of operations, current president, James Escobar Sasiadek. I knew I was going to mess that up. Sasiadek. And anyway, hey, listen, brother, welcome and aloha.
Thank you for having me. I'm super humbled and glad to be able to talk story with you. So thank you for the invite.
For sure. Hey, we always like to know what's the Hawaii connection, and sometimes we're flown in. They say grown, not flown. We all come at Hawaii different places. I was I've been adopted a little bit. What's your story? Everyone's got a different place here.
Yeah, the 15-second elevator is moved here 14 years ago with a couple of bags and a little bit of cash in my pocket, and it was supposed to be a short term and ended up being forever. And it was just kind of a whim. I always watched bodyboarding and surfing videos as a kid, and when my buddy said, "Hey, my brother lives there if you want to crash on this couch," I said, "Sure enough." And then 14 years later, having my own home here and my own roots kind of settling in, and it's a wonderful place that I'm able to own a business. And if you would ask me that 14 years ago, I'd be like, "You're crazy." And if you would ask me 14 months ago, I would own a house with this crazy market, that would also be crazy. So it was just kind of a whim journey to get here, and I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. But I'm glad to be here. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, it sounds like you've moved on from couch surfing, which is important that people do, and we appreciate that when they do that. Again, and then being able to sort of continue to sort of amplify this your love, and it appears bring this into sort of as your lifestyle. You must, again, before these 14 years, you must have accumulated this massive amount of soccer knowledge and experience. To be able to set up shop here and do business as an elite academy. First, tell us about the academy, and then
Hawaii Soccer Academy has kind of been the kind of evolving project that started off actually known as Pipeline Soccer Club back in 2015, and we had to do a name change based on staying true to our roots and the Hawaiian culture and who we represent. Well, because we travel quite a bit with the kids, and when we go off island, it's very easy and simple for the kids to wear their Hawaii shirts and show their pride as kids that come from here, and the coaching staff and the parents as well. So we made a little name change 2019, but even before that, I was coaching some of the other local clubs here, and I think they just needed a little bit of a different worldly view, which I was able to get as a kid playing professionally in England and Scotland between 14 and 17. So just to try to recreate that environment for kids here, obviously there's not a lot of land, so you can't just build giant field complexes and have turf with lights like probably the rest of the world.
Sure.
But we may do, So
Aloha Stadium maybe have that answer. That's what I heard. They're trying to get ball clubs.
That's the truth. That's true. I just got a phone call this morning from a guy that's trying to bring a professional soccer team to there, and he was interested in working with me. So I got to follow up with him and see where that goes.
All right. So, again, you mentioned this time, you sort of breezed over it. I played from the 15 to 17. This is the U15 to 17. This is basically Olympic prep league. We're talking sort of elite, sort of, professional, football league, sort of, playing you were doing in Europe.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, it was more professional, actually, even more than that. It was, there's a team over there called Watford, who I still believe plays in the Premier League, and it was more of a trial. And as an American kid back in the 90s, you were just recognized as an American kid. You weren't actually a soccer player. They just kind of brushed you off. And it was an eye opener, and it was a rude awakening to know that, there's the whole nother religion of soccer across the world. So it was a really special moment for my father and the people we traveled with to go over there and experience it. but that really kind of motivated me to come back here and be the best player I could. And I went on and I played pretty decent levels. And, the calling of a coach probably came from my parents, both being educators, teachers, Board of Education presidents, and working with children and giving them an opportunity to, learn about life through a sport rather than inside of a classroom where you're kind of told certain things, with the freedom of being outside and exercising. It was just a perfect fit for me. So it's been a long journey and I've learned a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've done a lot of great things, but there's not another job I could ever in the world, in the universe, imagine myself doing other than teaching youth kids, about life through soccer. That's pretty much my MO every morning when I wake up.
Well, that's important to know what drives you and gets you out of bed. You mentioned that your parents were educators, and so did you assume, like you said, 14 years ago, I didn't think I would be this. What was your assumption as you're getting out of school? You're still playing soccer. Were you playing soccer at school?
I was. I went to school in Maryland and was just bartending. Had to get the extra money, somehow to get the new soccer cleats, and I continued to run restaurants and managing, and I ran a couple of restaurants here in Hawaii and worked as bartender in Waikiki. And I just knew that I didn't want to necessarily be in the service industry actually forever, although it's kind of coming full circle. I've actually had some opportunities come on my plate recently, but I wanted
now
to do
wiser.
something different.
Now you're in a different position, so you look at it differently now.
That's right. So it was just it was more restaurant driven, the customer service and the industry that kind of runs Hawaii. But yeah, I wanted to do something different that I felt I wasn't just pouring drinks or serving some ranch dressing. It wanted to be, hey, can I change a kid's life? Can I get them to college? Can I take them out of Hawaii and to visit somewhere different? So it's been an interesting journey, but I did some surf instructing, some photo tours, some retail shops, just to kind of get my foot in the door with different companies, which ended up happening because, as you know, Hawaii is a very small community, and if you make good connections, they're really willing to help you. So, yeah,
especially if you're willing to, because there's a certain way you do business. If you're transparent, it's not all coming just to you. You're sort of trying to work together on some things. Tell us about how your academy works and integrates into the community.
Sure. I mean, we have people always ask the first question when they see me wearing an HSA shirt or a jacket. They say, "Oh, what ages?" Right? And I tell them we have everything from the little 3-year-olds all the way up to the 17-year-olds, boys and girls, every age group. For the most part, it is pretty competitive, but of course, the younger ones, it's just about fun. So, we always make sure that whatever ages we have at the youngest, we have great coaches, almost some of our best coaches, because the first experience, like anything, you could win a kid over for life, or you could just push them away, or they had a bad taste in their mouth. So, we do offer the most competitive. We take teams internationally, we take teams nationally to the top showcases to try to maybe help them reach their goals of professional or college. But at the end of the day, how many kids are going to reach the top level? Less than 1%. So then you cannot put all your eggs in that basket. So what I've realized is, can we build these kids into nice, respectable people that are also very fit, that have good manners, that learn to work in a team environment? And who knows, full circle, they may end up coming back to, to the club in 25 years and say, "Hey, coach, thank you for all the lessons. I'm a lawyer. I'm a doctor. I'm the university president. Whatever." So, we kind of really put our eggs in the basket of just making good people, which sounds kind of cliche because we're certainly competitive and we certainly have the pedigree to win state titles and national championships. But I think the most important thing for any parent is that their child has a good role model. So that's kind of what we pride ourselves on, is bringing in top role models, coaches, mentors, assistant coaches, managers that are just good example to whatever kid asks them a question, needs advice, needs a lend an ear other than mom and dad. So we take a lot of time. I would say this about our coaching staff: they know every single kid's name in a club that has over maybe 500 kids. So that's really important, that we understand the human connection and not just go run a lap around the field.
Well, yeah, and again, that's how one of the questions I had was, outside of the physical skills, as they progress, like you said, it's fun. We're just out there to have fun when they're younger, but then there starts to be sort of a sifting, what would you call it, a threshing of sorts as it moves up into sort of, strict competitive, where there's, certain expectations, and all physical skills being alike. What do you assess for mentally in some of these guys, for those who are, you're trying to push up?
Absolutely. The one thing that we try to encourage all athletes, parents, is self-driven athletes. I think especially post-COVID, I hate to touch on that, but kids just lost their momentum. They lost their drive, even more than the I guess youth kind of culture that is different than probably you and I when we played sports. You know, you didn't have YouTube, you didn't have these specialized coaches that mom and dad were paying an arm and a leg. It was you go out in the backyard with your ball and you make up your own move and you
Right.
practice as many as times as you want and you shoot with your right, you shoot with
Yeah.
your left, you run backwards, upside down, and do a cartwheel. But now kids are just so dependent on a personal trainer, and it's just not what happens when mommy and daddy aren't there. What happens when the coach can't make it? Are you self-driven? So it's just looking for those athletes that are driven and maybe have the necessary I don't know, I guess the mantra in their own body that's, hey, I want to be great. I appreciate everybody on my team, but I'm going to be better than you. Those are the ones that you can identify pretty easily.
They're
And
competitive. They
yeah.
see it themselves. They see themselves successfully. They've had some wins. They see their abilities. Is it interesting when you see some of them get humbled? Maybe they go out, you see them out in the world a little bit, and they get a good working over. How does that affect them?
And that's probably the best taste of medicine that they can get, is being the big fish in a little pond in Hawaii, as you know, is it's pretty prevalent here. But when you go somewhere else and you get your butt kicked, or the whole team gets their butt kicked and their coach gets humbled, you come back with a different mentality. And I always tell the kids, you got two choices. You can quit, throw your hands up, and go play piano. I have nothing against piano. I like the piano, but or you can pick up where you left off and get better. And next time you go, it's a different experience. So I think honestly, that probably is the most important thing, is that you get these kids. Some of them have never left the sands of Hawaii to go
Right.
travel to a new culture where maybe it's cold, maybe they're playing on turf, maybe there's lights, right? A lot of kids have never played under the bright lights of a Friday night game, and go get your butt kicked and come back and be humbled. But it is probably the best taste of medicine, probably for everybody involved, the parents too.
Well, they say some people say that soccer isn't really a contact sport. As again, as more competitive, et cetera, folks get. What's the current status of sort of this sometimes rough game called football?
Yeah, no, I would say now it's all about, especially unfortunately in America, it's all about who the biggest, fastest, strongest person is. In other parts of the world, I would say the game is pretty quick, pretty physical, but a lot of other countries, they really value the brain and the feet as the tools, not necessarily like America, where it's just biggest, fastest, strongest wins. And I think what's happening, especially like for the example, the U.S. women's soccer team has been so successful for so many years, but it's because they're the biggest, strongest, fastest. Now, some of these other countries are investing money that they're having teams starting to beat them because they're outthinking them. So unfortunately, sports here in the country is still kind of based off of football, baseball, who's the biggest, fastest, stronger kid. But I would say this, we have a lot of kids that probably are going to make it to the highest levels just based on their brain, not necessarily their size, but it can be physical. There is a lot of injuries now. There's a lot of knee injuries with kids. I don't know what that is about, but it's a physical sport. It absolutely is.
Yeah. So there's sort of as a director of operations, what you have. I understand, and you're right in the middle of this. Your busy season, like for tax folks, it's April. But tell us about this. You're about ready to kick off a season. What's that like for you? And tell us a little bit about what this looks like for you. Again, 500 folks in the program. That must be some kind of ushering. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 500 children means 1,000 parents typically, right? And everybody's parent is pretty proud of their kid, and they really want the best for them. And at the end of the day, it's about their kid. This is a team sport, but I would be lying if I said every parent didn't have their own child's best interest in line. So it's very humbling at times to deal with the day-to-day requests, needs, wants of a parent. But on the business side, I would say I've brought in a lot of people recently post-COVID that have helped me, streamline and delegate tasks a bit more. We have a new director of coaching, which is a very powerful position in most soccer clubs around the world, that came in from San Francisco, and he's built clubs around the country. And he came in and he's structured things and delegated tasks where, a lot of the day-to-day stuff that I've been doing, during COVID when I didn't have a big staff, has now been relieved a bit. But The season does start for all the teams, so you can feel the energy out on the fields with the kids, and the parents are just getting ready for a new start. No more mask and no restrictions, and they're ready to go and they're hungry. But for me, just making sure that everybody's got, their medical waiver and their uniforms on, and they've paid their dues, and we didn't miss anything for referee fees, and so the kids can just show up to the field and have a good time. So it's crazy the amount of work that goes behind and the team behind just so a kid could show up and smile and have that 1.5 hours with their buddies and go home and eat shave ice. But it's quite a bit of work. But I know somebody did that for me when I was a kid. So you got to give back at some point.
Right. So what does your travel schedule look like for this year?
So we actually have, between the 32 teams we have, I would say about 25 of them are traveling. That's mostly to the East, West Coast, a little bit of Midwest. But we are looking to take a team to the Women's World Cup this year, which is in New Zealand. We are looking to take a team of boys to Spain, which should be an interesting trip. It's very far away. And then me personally and my director of coaching are be going to the World Cup in November, which is in Qatar, which I don't know anything about, but I certainly will learn when I get there. Yeah.
Now, what are the benefits? I mean, it sounds like they have educational, components for you folks as well. I mean, what advantage is it that you, besides, obviously going to the World Cup, but, what kind of exchange with sponsors and things happens there?
As far as, I'm sorry, the education?
Well, just, I guess, what do they provide there? I mean, you go to World Cup, and so you gain that experience, what do you bring back? Have you ever been to a World Cup, and how does that, help you as you bring that back and sort of help the kids?
Yeah, so it's such a long journey that we split the trip up a bit. So we're actually going to go stop into the Philippines on the way there for 3 days and kind of learn about their culture. We may even stop in Australia on the way back just to learn about their culture, being on a secluded island, just to see how do their centers of excellence run when you're so secluded from the rest of the world. So, the idea was to obviously go enjoy the World Cup games and maybe make some nice connections around the world. And I mean, honestly, I'd be lying if I said we didn't have big plans to bring an international tournament to the shores of Hawaii. So it'd be more of a networking trip, but hopefully within those moments of meeting club directors and other similar, I guess, demographic and location, hopefully bring something back that's gonna, maybe change the game here for us and kids in Hawaii. Yeah.
Right. Well, while we had a chance to interview Lieutenant Governor Green, and some of the discussion there was he's very, excited. Again, I'm not, saying, hey, the guy should be the governor. But anyway, what he was the Lieutenant Governor, he said that's part of the draw is with this new stadium that they want to get. They're looking at rugby. They don't know if they could do necessarily a pro football league or soccer or football or whatever. But there's still, I think there's opportunity there. How does Hawaii differentiate itself from the rest of the clubs that generate the kind of soccer success that you do?
I think it's just a location. We're so centrally located in some ways between the Asia and the mainland, and I think there's opportunities to bring people here, and I think people are getting more comfortable to travel again. And I just see that stadium being built. I mean, we actually got our own field complex out in Kapolei Beach, which is the only other soccer-specific park in the entire island of Oahu, which is beautiful. I mean, it's got great grass. It's soccer-specific. It's got beautiful goals. But I would say the uniqueness to Hawaii is just who doesn't want to come to Hawaii? How hard is it to promote a tournament, right? So I think it's just the logistics of making a couple phone calls. Hey, do you have a couple teams that you might want to bring? Director of Minnesota Soccer Club. Yeah, We'll be there. Right.
Yeah, like very popular before the pandemic was in Maui. They have a big open for basketball. A big invitational, and that was I'd bring people from all over the country and do that. But this, again, because soccer is such an international, there's such an opportunity for these clubs, particularly like you say, Australia, probably throughout Polynesia, that there'd be plenty of folks who are interested in playing around for serious though. So tell them a little bit though. Sometimes as like you say, only 1% get a chance to be able to really hit the higher level. I think it's the same odds in the NFL or some of these NBA guys. The reality of things is so. What do you give them along with the opportunity to maybe play through college and do some different things? How do you set these kids up for success through soccer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say that most parents still nowadays, the college is the goal, right? To get a college scholarship to help them get off the island to see a different part of the world and maybe get a little money for that. I think that is still the drive. So we do have a college pathway there, especially with the new DOC being so well connected to mainland and coaches, and his credentials speak for themselves. But
sorry, slow down for everybody. Again, Greeny, DOC.
I'm sorry, the director of coaching. I apologize.
No. Hey, we'll catch up. That's part of the challenge here with us folks in America. We don't know enough about this. We need to see more. We need to get some excited. I have been to like Salt Lake, Real, down, the Utah up in Seattle and different things. So hopefully maybe we could pull a U.S. team like that. Would be very cool, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I like I was saying, I think there is a lot of drive to still get to college, but we do have those players that approach us and their parents and say, hey, what about the pros? Do you have any connections to there? And we certainly do. There is a lot of improvement in Major League Soccer now, and we have LAFC and LA Galaxy, and Seattle Sounders, I think, is one of the main clubs that's able to kind of poach players from Hawaii. So just giving them different pathways, whether it's college, whether it's pro, or one thing we're really focused on right now is kind of vertically integrating within ourselves. So it's very difficult to get high quality coaches, here to Hawaii. I mean, so far, there's not $1 million here like potentially you could make in other parts of the world. So kids that are graduating, we just immediately offer them a job to come back and coach, and we'll teach them. We'll pay for their coaching education. We'll give them a mentor, a role model to follow. So it could potentially be a career path. I do it full time. I have no other job. This is a full-time position for me, and I have probably 8 other full-time coaches that strictly coach Hawaii soccer in Hawaii. I never thought that was a thing, and it is. So I mean, I'm sure there's a handful of people that, wait, you coach soccer in Hawaii for a living? Okay, where do I sign up?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's either there or Florida, or then you can do some traveling clinics. You can be the traveling clinic guy or whatever.
Right.
So. But I mean, how did this? Like you said, 14 years ago, one thing led to another. Here it is. But what really sort of ignited this and really took this off for you? When did you say, like, I'm all in on this?
Yeah, no, I mean, I got to be a little bit careful, but I would say working at some of the other jobs that I had in the soccer world, I just wasn't really comfortable with the way that they're doing things and what they're over promising parents and children. The cost was maybe not in line with what I thought it should be. So to do something different, to create another avenue, right? I mean, we go to the ice cream shop. It's not just vanilla and chocolate. There's the guys that like the cookies and cream and the Rocky Road and the mint chocolate chip and the cotton candy, right? So I wanted to provide one of those other flavors to these families that maybe, it wouldn't be for everybody. Again, I'm not from Hawaii, and I respect the culture, and I've been here a long time, and I think most of the families understand that, and that's why they support me. At the end of the day, I'm helping Hawaiian children reach their goals. So I wanted to do something different, and by different, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not doing something well, but I wanted to provide a program where kids don't forget to use the word thank you and please and yes sir and yes coach, and when they're representing our club outside in the community at school, because a lot of these kids do take pride and they wear their stuff all over town. I just saw a kid at Safeway about 5 minutes ago wearing one of our shirts, that they're not representing the club, but themselves, their family, this community. So I just didn't always agree with some of the other things, and like anything, right? That's no problem, but I wanted to do something different. And when I saw the opportunity to maybe start my own club, I went with it, which was a leap of faith. And I went from coaching 2 state champion teams at a club to 7 kids showing up to my first practice, not even enough to field the team. And I was like, oh boy. So yeah.
Here we go. But I guess now enjoying the fruits of your labors. But like I said, it's a busy time for you. As again, you're answering emails, you're finding out who's on what team and putting it together. Sounds like that the chief of coaches there. I forgot the exact moniker, but that sounds like that's a big right arm for you.
It is. It's been. We actually have a meeting here in about 2 hours with the east side of the island. We just recently merged or kind of took over a club in Hawaii Kai, so we have to go meet with all of these new coaches and kind of explain exactly what I just said about, hey, the culture's got to be the same across the island for this club. We want to make sure, and they do a great job. That's why we partnered with them. But we have a coaches meeting tonight where I don't have to run it. He's going to run it. He's going to talk. He's going to explain it. and I can just sit and take notes and do some emails on my phone when I should be paying attention.
Right.
But he's relieved a lot of the pressure and the stress, and brought his expertise
Mhm.
to kind of take some of the reins. And he's got a free hand to do what he likes. He's very well versed and experienced and educated.
Well, that's again, having the right people in the right place, and then recognizing when you need help. When did you realize that you I guess as you grew this, when did you realize that, man, this is way out of my hands? I need one, not two, not three, but this many folks. How did that escalate for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's that tricky game. You can't have a team unless you have a coach, but you can't have a coach. You can't hire a coach until you have a team. So it's just kind of the catch-22 there, where you're like, well, I really want you to be here, but maybe I can't pay you, or I don't have enough kids for you. But I knew after maybe the 22nd team, and I go, okay, this is a lot of teams, and I only have so many coaches, where I really kind of buckled down and said, okay, I got to bring in an all-star staff. And I'm sure most of the guys on your business podcast, I would imagine the majority have realized, it's a good idea to bring in a team around you that maybe they're better than you at what you do, and let them do it. Give them the structure, give them the opportunity, but let them do what they're good at. And as soon as I started doing that, and maybe not micromanaging everything,
Right.
oh man, it's hard to do. If it's your baby, it's hard to do.
Right.
But that's the best thing. I think majority of your successful guys on here probably realized at one point.
Well, that's the question when you're coming off of not doing it yourself. You've got these other people. The challenge becomes, where do you go with this from here? Is this product that you've developed? Is this academy, this club? It's such a special way. It's a different culture that you guys have, and this is what differentiates you from these other folks. Where did you learn that? Did you have you grew up in clubs, so you kind of saw the back side, sort of what we call the back of the house
Right.
stuff. So did you have, it sounds like your father was involved, but maybe there were some other mentors that you had, and sort of that you watched, that sort of, hey kid, watch this. Hey kid, watch that.
Right. No, I would say probably, my father just working, 20 hours a day, sleeping for 2, and hanging out with the family the rest. He taught me the work ethic and the way to deal with people. And a lot of times people just want to be heard. Just listen to them, and then make sure they know that you're the guy that's going to help them get the solution. And I think that's been a really good advice. But I would say my college roommate, his father was one of the head coaches of the Baltimore Ravens, and he was the head coach of the 49ers. When we lived in Baltimore together, I'd always ask to go to the office, go to the weight room, hang out.
Wow.
And
no, that's
one
special.
day it was great. And I was in the elevator one day at the Ravens complex, and the owner of the Ravens hopped in there, and I knew who he was. And the door closed, and I was like, this is literally the 15-second elevator pitch. Like, what
Here
do
it
I
is.
do? Right. I was like, hi, sir. If you had any advice, what would you give to somebody that wants to start a business? And he said, listen, hire people that are better than you. Trust them, give them the platform, and let them go. And then the door opened, and he walked out. Right. So that always stuck for me. And this guy's got a great program. I think he's probably got a little bit of money in the bank, and he's very successful and well known.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was it. Just those moments where you run into somebody more successful than you that you look up to, and they give you that little nugget. But you got to do the work. You got to bring in the right people. You got to put them through the test and make sure that they're a good fit, because Hawaii is a very, very unique environment, community. You cannot come. I'm from the East Coast. You cannot come in here like this is the East Coast. The San Francisco guy cannot come in here like this is San Francisco.
No.
You gotta adapt and adjust.
Yeah, that's a brick wall.
Yeah.
Well, how did you, is that part of the culture that you have, and keeping that out there to the rest of the coaches out there? Again, you have a playbook. You must, sort of how do you put all your information together? Is it all on paper, or you got it digitized? How do you work as a leader?
We got them both, because I think there is still value in having something that you can hold and touch and see. So even tonight at the meeting, we're providing all the coaches kind of a year-long calendar that they all need to provide to their parents and their teams, because people like to see, and they like to know what's happening. Even though it's youth soccer, you can plan out a full 365 for these people, and they have something to look forward to as far as travel. We have a coach's kind of DNA and team DNA, and we just provide as much literature and education to these coaches as possible, almost to the point of that they can't even absorb it all. We just want them to have it, take what they can from it, and then be themselves. You know, coaches want to be able to coach. They want to be handcuffed. They want to be told what to do, but as long as we're on the same page. So we do provide them with all sorts of digital coaching resources and education. We pay for anybody's education that wants to get as high up to the A license, which is what I'm working on now, which is the highest license in the country. That's professional or college coaches must have, though. I have my B, but it's a long journey to get there. So we tell these young coaches, start now, get hungry, do it. But just providing education, like anything, you got to read, you got to take time, you got to master your craft, and then it'll show. Kids can smell when you come to a practice unprepared.
Right.
Parents can smell when you just show up and you got here late and you didn't bring your, yep.
Yeah. And then they're like, then they're, they're going to question, that's like, yeah. And you want to give what your service that you're providing, and you want to be, they want, but that's, that's the exchange. And so again, if you're professional, that will, happen. So listen, if people want to find out more and they want to get involved, and again, it sounds like a season just starting if they can now, or it's the next season, you have something going on in the spring, or you have 2 seasons. Tell folks how they can get involved with your club.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the website, obviously nowadays, people still use them, believe it or not, but yeah, we still have Hawaii Soccer Academy website. All of our information's on there. We do Instagram quite a bit. I think that's like one of the biggest drivers for parents within our club, and parents and kids from other clubs. They're peeking in on what we're doing, and they might see some things like bringing in the new coach or providing a pathway to Spain. And that's kind of a very easy, not expensive way to do your thing. And if you drive around Oahu, you probably will see a Hawaii Soccer Academy tryout sign somewhere on a fence or in a yard. So please forgive me if I put it in your yard, but yeah, it's very easy to find us. You can find us online, Facebook as well. I will say this, we're always looking for more business leaders in the admin department. We have a lot of positions in the accounting and the admin and the registrar. We need more coaches, so that we're hiring coaches that can be paid or volunteer. And we always wanted to take on new kids, of course. So there's lots. So I'm sure somebody that's listening to this can find some value in Hawaii Soccer Academy.
Yeah, well, it sounds exciting, and listen, like you said, as you were saying earlier, you kind of glanced over it, but you said, I don't really have a job. This is what I do, so it appears, and that's the secret, I guess, is that when you're doing the thing you love, it's not like a job at all. So it appears that's the case for you, James, even though you're sweating it out and you got to go, you're working those hours and doing that, but you're, making it happen for yourself, and we appreciate that here at Hawaii. Right. Hey, before we go though, a little bit more about you. Where's your getaway when you're not grinding it out like this? Where do you go to hang out? And we don't want your secret spot or whatever, but how do you get away here in Hawaii? Sometimes people feel locked in a little bit, but there's
I bought a COVID toy, which is one of those Lance Armstrong bikes that with the skinny tires and the tight clothes. Yep, I got one, and
not one of those guys on the side of the road. We want to
Well, I try to get away from the car so I don't get hit by one. I go up in the mountains in Tantalus, so you'll probably see me up in Tantalus, up on the top of that thing, and that is a challenge. I got a COVID dog as well, so you probably see me hiking somewhere with him, chasing, or I'm chasing him. So between the dog and my bike, I'd say those are my 2 vices. But I'm happy to just sit on the air-conditioned couch and watch more soccer.
Yeah, not getting ready for Ironman then with your
No, not too old now. But yeah.
Listen, I know when you guys work out too. Another thing, what's the best sort of refuel food for folks where we say, hey, we're going to go out and grind, guys, because you guys put in a good workout? Where do you guys go?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm a big fan of Down to Earth and Whole Foods. I'll be honest with you, that's probably 7 days a week for me. But I'm not opposed to a good Mexican. We actually have a family that is invested in Paniolos, and it's kind of like a Chipotle of the mainland, and it's delicious. You ask healthy, I probably am not selling that very well. But
it sounds like everybody brings something. Sometimes you have the parents are involved, and it's going to be you have sort of someone has to plan that too, right? Help with
that's true. That's true. The potlucks are probably the most important thing to the families here, to be honest with you, even more than the game. And it's hard to say, hey, please bring something organic. They bring me donuts and they go, Coach, I promise it's organic. I'm like, sure it is.
Right.
Right.
Pure cane sugar. It's fine.
Right.
Listen, James, it's been a pleasure talking with you. I wish we had some more time. We're excited to hear about the future stuff that's happening with you as you grow and you take this trip to World Cup and hopefully get some of these guys off to Spain and just keep moving this forward and growing some great citizens along the way. Appreciate it.
I really appreciate the opportunity and thank you for your time. And I wish you the best of luck on the Hawaii Boss podcast. It's awesome.
Yeah. Talk soon.
All right. Take care.
Yeah. Take care.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Make sure to subscribe to Hawaii Boss and follow us on social media at Hawaii Boss Podcast at the links in the description. We'll see you soon in the boss's office.